The letter, confirmed by Economy Ministry spokesperson Abdul Rahman Habib, said the female employees were not allowed to work until further notice because some had not adhered to the administration's interpretation of Islamic dress code for women. It comes days after the Taliban-run administration ordered universities to close to women, prompting global condemnation and sparking some protests and heavy criticism inside Afghanistan. Ramaz Al-Akbarov, the UN Deputy Special Representative for Afghanistan and Humanitarian Coordinator, said he was deeply concerned by reports of the letter, which was a clear breach of humanitarian principles. It was not immediately clear how the order would affect UN agencies, which have a large presence in Afghanistan delivering services amid the country's humanitarian crisis. The UN Office for Humanitarian Affairs said the United Nations would try to meet with Taliban leadership to obtain clarity on the reported order. The Chargé d'Affaires for Norway, which funds aid in Afghanistan and hosted talks between Taliban and civil society members in January, condemned the move. The ban on female employees and NGOs must be reversed immediately, Paul Klomenbecken tweeted. In addition to being a blow to women's rights, this move will exacerbate the humanitarian crisis and hurt the most vulnerable Afghans. When asked whether the rules included UN agencies, Habib said the letter applied to organizations under Afghanistan's coordinating body for humanitarian organizations, known as ACBAR. That body does not include the United Nations, but includes over 180 local and international NGOs. However, the United Nations often contracts with NGOs registered in Afghanistan to carry out its humanitarian work. Aid workers say female workers are critical to ensuring women can access aid. Afghanistan's already struggling economy has tipped into crisis since the Taliban took over in 2021, with the country facing sanctions and cuts in development aid. Humanitarian aid, aimed at meeting urgent needs, has provided a lifeline to millions of people. Over half of Afghanistan's population are reliant on humanitarian aid, according to the International Rescue Committee.
Brutal winter storm creates continuing chaos for flights, holiday packages. Flight delays continued Saturday, interrupting travel during the busy holiday season as parts of the country were battered by a deadly winter storm. As of Saturday morning, there were upwards of 2,000 cancellations of flights into, leaving and within the United States, according to flight tracking website FlightAware. Over 4,300 flights were delayed. Chicago's O'Hare Airport, Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta and Newark in the New York City region were among the U.S. airports most affected by delays and cancellations, according to FlightAware's Misery Map. Saturday's delays and cancellations follow days of disruption as the storm swept across the country, bringing bone-chilling temperatures and whiteout conditions, with reports of a bomb cyclone extreme weather pattern near the Great Lakes. On Friday, there were nearly 6,000 canceled flights in the U.S., and close to 12,000 delays, according to FlightAware. Greyhound bus service warned Thursday evening that trips in the Midwest or Upper Northeast could be canceled or disrupted. In its alert, the company listed nearly 20 cities as among those impacted, advising passengers to check bustraker.greyhound.com for the latest information about specific routes. Amtrak said Friday morning that the severe weather has caused Amtrak to make several service and cancellations from now through Sunday, December 25th. The train company said impacted customers should be able to take trains leaving at similar times or on another day. Those staying at home are also dealing with impact from the storms. On Saturday, over 1.6 million homes and businesses nationwide were without power due to an Arctic blast and winter storm that tore down power lines. The storm is pummeling the Midwest and parts of the East with heavy snow, blizzard conditions, and flooding along the northeast coast, on top of frigid temperatures. It's expected to continue through Sunday. The weather could impact holiday gifts, as well. The U.S. Postal Service, UPS, FedEx and Amazon all recently said that the weather is disrupting operations. The USPS said it had temporarily shut down 89 post offices. UPS warned some delivery and pickup services may be affected, and Amazon temporarily closed some of its sites in the impacted areas. FedEx said it was experiencing substantial disruptions at 2 processing hubs and that packages expected to be delivered Saturday could be delayed. Paris shooting. Protests after deadly attack on Kurds. Violence has broken out in central Paris after Friday's deadly attack on the city's Kurdish community. Protesters overturned cars, setting some on fire, and hurled objects at police. Officers responded by firing tear gas. The 69-year-old white male suspect said afterwards he was a racist who hated foreigners, a police source told AFP. The same news agency was told that the man launched his attack with a much-used pistol and was found with a box of at least 25 cartridges and 2 or 3 loaded magazines. Unrest began soon after the shootings. Footage showed people starting fires in the middle of the street and smashing car windows. Police used tear gas as the protesters attempted to break through a security cordon. Saturday's renewed violence unfolded after hundreds of Kurds gathered peacefully in the Place de la République to pay tribute to the 3 victims. Police continue to question the man, a retired train driver. He is being held on suspicion of murder and attempted murder and now also faces the extra charge of acting with a racist motive. He has a history of weapons offenses and it has emerged that he was released on bail only days before the assault. Last year, he was charged with racist violence over a sword attack at a migrant camp elsewhere in the French capital. 3 others were injured, one of whom remains in a critical condition. Kurds have called for better protection from the French authorities as community leaders met the Parisian police chief on Saturday. The community was again afraid, having been traumatized by January 2013 murders, said a lawyer for the Kurdish Democratic Council in France.
Taliban orders NGOs to stop women from coming to work. Afghanistan's Taliban-run government on Saturday ordered all local and foreign non-governmental organizations to prevent female employees from reporting to work in the latest restrictive move against women's rights and freedoms in the country. The order was made in a letter written in Persian by Economy Minister Khairy Din Mohammed Hanif Abdur Rahman Habib, a spokesman for Afghanistan's economic ministry, told NBC News. Taliban officials announced in May that women leaving the home were to cover themselves in head-to-toe loose-fitting clothing that covers the face, such as a burqa, a traditional all-enveloping article of clothing that includes a mesh panel for the face. According to the edict, only a woman's eyes should be visible. Rahman Habib also said that the letter warned the organizations whose female employees failed to adhere to this standard would have their licenses revoked. It was not clear if the order also applied to United Nations agencies, which have a large presence in Afghanistan. However, any other non-governmental organizations that have an active presence in Afghanistan, which has been embroiled in an economic and social crisis since the Taliban took over in August 2021 following the withdrawal of US and NATO troops. The move was condemned by Paul Clement Bekken, the charge d'affaires for Norway, which funds humanitarian aid to the country and hosted talks between Taliban and civil society members in January. "The ban on female employees in NGOs must be reversed immediately," he tweeted. "In addition to being a blow to women's rights, this move will exacerbate the humanitarian crisis and hurt the most vulnerable Afghans." The order came days after the Taliban used a similar pretext to order the closure of universities to women, prompting strong global condemnation and sparking some protests and heavy criticism inside Afghanistan. The Taliban also claimed that students were mixing between genders. Foreign governments, including Muslim-majority Saudi Arabia and Turkey, condemned the university ban, which also led to criticism and protests inside Afghanistan. In the western city of Herat on Saturday, Taliban forces used water cannons to disperse women protesting the ban on university education, Reuters reported. About 24 women were heading to the provincial governor's house to protest the ban, chanting, "Education is our right." When they were pushed back by security forces firing the water cannon, eyewitnesses told Reuters. Mushtaq Yousafzai reported from Peshawar and Layla Sakar from London.